analysis. Applying debt to equity ratio. Let's see if we can cover this up and get the actual problem. Okay, number 14. McClare. Okay. So on this one, we're going to do McClare Company is considering a project will require a loan of 520123. Okay, we'll do the same thing here. Okay, it presently has total liabilities. Present liabilities, liabilities of 210,000 and total and assets. Let's see. Let's move this stuff around a little bit. Let's move this over here. Let's put assets here. Is total assets of 630. All right. And we'll just go ahead and do all this as numbers. There we go. Compute Montclair's A, current debt to equity ratio, and B, the debt to equity ratio, assuming it borrows 520. Okay, so this is current, right? So we know that assets equals liabilities plus equity, right? So equity is therefore assets minus liabilities, right? So that's what we got there. If we run our ratio, our DTE ratio, debt to equity ratio, we're going to have our total debt equals our total debt divided by our total equity. So really what it's telling you is what's your ratio, right, of debt to equity. Of course, that's what it says. Okay, so that doesn't help. We want that to be we'll take it to that. So 50% debt to equity ratio. Now, you may be wondering, well, what happens when I add this loan in here, right? So with loan, okay. And actually, we'll just bring this down here, delete this other thing. Okay, with loan, we're going to add 520. Now we have to add 520 to both sides of the equation, because if you're going to get a loan, that means you're theoretically going to get an asset, which is a cash. That's my assumption. We're getting cash for that loan. There's other ways of doing this, but we're going to assume cash for the loan. So we're going to take the 630 plus the 520, right? And we're going to take the 210 plus the 520. So now, effectively, if we use the same, the equity shouldn't have changed. So let's just copy this over and let's see, assume cash. Assume cash on this one. Okay. So now the question is, does this match? Yeah, the 420 stays the same, right? So just assets went up. So now if we take the same formula, we copy it. I'll do it with my thing. Copy it, and we do a paste right here, and we'll just go paste the whole thing. 1.74. Whoa, liabilities is a lot higher than equity. Okay. If Montclair borrows the funds, does its financing structure become more or less risky? And I would say it becomes a lot more risky, because depends on how you look at it. A lot more risky because you have a lot more liabilities, but somebody would argue that they're leveraging their equity, and so it might be less risky because but debt is a permanent, kind of an ongoing obligation. You have to pay it off, whereas equity isn't an ongoing obligation. You don't have to pay it off. You do have to return some, value back to the stockholders, but generally speaking, it doesn't have any burden on your day-to-day operating activities. So in this case, because an increase in liabilities over your equity is a more risky financial position, because you have to pay interest on that liabilities. You have to pay the principal off that liability. So there's a lot of obligations associated with it that do not go away. In fact, the bank can come in and take assets away, whereas an equity holder cannot really, they have no recourse, right? They put money in, they may not like it, but they can't do anything about it. So your bank is going to be far more of a problem. So let's look at what we have here in the problem. Okay, so we have your liabilities and we have our equity. Those are all the same. Go 0.5 to 0.7, and it's more risky. All right, so that's exercise 1015, problem number 14 in your quiz access. Hopefully that helps out a bit. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'll be happy to pick them up on Thursday. Take care. Bye.